Rob, the 9:35 kickoff on Saturday, Hurricanes Crusaders. On paper, massive game. And I'm sure the Crusaders are desperate for some points, but the Hurricanes have been awesome this year. And both teams, they are playing sort of near to full strength sides for this.
Yeah, that's going to be, I think, a real, it could be a very sort of easy on the eye sort of game to watch. One well worth getting up for if you're a sort of a neutral South African. A chance to sort of admire some of the best qualities of New Zealand rugby at the moment. It's kind of, I sort of see it as a little bit of sort of the Crusaders pack against the Hurricanes backline. I think the Canes have got a definite sort of edge in continuity among their backs. I'm thinking that with the Crusaders, not that people are not completely convinced that Dan Carter is the right guy to have at inside centre. Should he actually be back at fly half? I see he's playing 12 again.
Yeah.
And he's going to be up against Messrs. Nonu and Conrad Smith. That's a real sort of old firm in the Hurricanes midfield.
Rob, sorry to interject there, but with Dan Carter sort of staying at 12 now, where would he fit into the World Cup starting lineup? Do you think he'd slot back into number 10?
Yeah, I suppose that will be the case further down the line. We know that New Zealand have got a ton of pretty decent fly halves.
Yeah.
They'll be watching pretty closely the sort of the more advanced stages of Super Rugby to see what sort of clues exist as to how Mr. Bowden Barrett and various others are faring. So that they don't have a problem in that position. If they do, it's a pleasant problem.
Yeah.
But I still think that Carter will probably end up being the man pulling the strings come World Cup time in the sort of key number 10 channel at a World Cup. You sort of think they'll go to the sort of the money man really. But it's interesting to see how he goes on this occasion back at 12. As I say, the Crusaders pack will give them a chance, I think, against the Hurricanes. But I've eventually gone Hurricanes by perhaps sort of 3 or 4 points for this one.
Okay. And the midday kickoff, do we need to predict this one? Rebels Chiefs?
Yeah, don't write off the Rebels completely.
Yeah.
They are still theoretically in with a little bit of a playoff shout. They've done well to get to this stage of the season, kind of hanging in there. But you've got to think too much quality on paper by the Chiefs. It'll be a big surprise if they don't bag the away victory.
Okay. Garen, moving on to the two late games, two fantastic South African derbies. First up, the Cheetahs hosting the Stormers. I saw Rob wrote an article earlier this week about the line-out battle being quite decisive.
Yeah, no, it should be a good game. In a second weekend in a row, two South African derbies at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock to keep rugby fans entertained. The Stormers should be way too good for the Cheetahs, who are by some distance the weakest South African team this season. Tons and tons of injury issues there. And the Stormers team, now taken over at the top of the South African Conference, will be looking to build on that. And I don't see any problem with them winning. I don't see any way they probably won't even score the 4 tries and pick up a full house of 5 points, which will be, boost their standing at the top of the standings. As Rob said, without Ibn Etzebeth, the line-out could be a key battle. Certainly, the Stormers' tight 5 and forward pack should be too strong for the Cheetahs at scrum time. The Stormers have scrummed incredibly well. Perhaps this season they have the best pack out in the tournament. And then the backline, I think, will be given a chance to run at the Cheetahs backline. I don't think defence for the Cheetahs is a little bit suspect. So I see the Stormers scoring tries. Again, it could be a high-scoring game. I think the Stormers will be happy to bank the 5 points no matter what the scoreline actually ends up being. So I'm going to go for, again, the away win in this case. Stormers to pick up a full house of 5 points against the Cheetahs in Bloem by as many as, I think, 10 to 12 points.
Do you agree, Rob?
I think it might be a little bit closer. The Stormers have come up short a few times in Bloemfontein before. They've got a very good home record against the Cheetahs. Very seldom have problems disposing of them quite comfortably at Newlands. But up in Bloemfontein can be a little bit of a banana peel sort of venue for them. I remember on one occasion, they've also had a few injury hassles there. Dwayne Vermeulen, I think, a few years ago, did a cruciate ligament playing in Bloemfontein. So touch wood for the Stormers, that sort of mishap doesn't happen again. The sort of venue, though, where things can sort of go, when they start going pear-shaped, they go quite nastily pear-shaped. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I do think that the Stormers will win, but I think it could be tight. I think maybe the Cheetahs might be up for a losing bonus point.
Okay. And finally, Rob, Bulls-Lions. I'm sure the Bulls would like to get a little bit of revenge for their defeat a few weeks ago.
Definitely. Yeah, they could have won that game in Joburg. They'd sort of right up to the end.
There was talk of that sort of at the death wrong ball being used.
That's
whatever.
right. Yeah, and then they didn't feel the kickoff properly. They got sloppy, got sort of crucially complacent in that last minute, and then the angry warthog got over for a late try, Akker van der Merwe for the Lions. Which of course got them a famous win. You can't write off the Lions in any game this season. They're such a spirited side.
I was going to say, I mean, there are only 3 points between the two teams on the log. The Lions have won 6 out of 10 matches.
Yeah, they're
So
on a big roll. I
really
mean, they're on a roll of about 5, I think, in terms of in the win column. So they've got sort of a winning attitude, a winning formula on their side. Having said that, I think Loftus being the sort of venue for this one, you've got to think that the Bulls will be really, really revved up to bounce back after the disappointment of Newlands. Given that they had opportunities to win the game at Newlands, they'll know that they went toe-to-toe with the Stormers, and then some at times. So I don't think there's going to be any problems with sort of lack of confidence among the Bulls. I think they'll do enough to get over the line. That it may well be one of those tight South African derbies where you sort of hope that there'll be some free-flowing movement, and it turns out being a real sort of arm wrestle. But I think the Lions will probably lose, but within a 7-point sort of radius.
Are you, Garen?
Yeah, as Rob said, there's a potential banana peel here for the Bulls. I'm not 100% convinced they're that good. They seem to be lacking something.
Well, you've been singing the Lions' praises for a while now.
Yeah,
so
and I'm getting there in a roundabout way that I'm fancying the potential upset here. It's not a long journey, obviously, from Joburg to Pretoria. The Lions are on a roll. They give 110% every match. They play for a full 80 minutes. We've seen them score tries and winning tries at that in the dying seconds of games. They'll certainly be in there with a shout. If Yanchis plays well, he's playing some fantastic rugby this year. I see, him being sort of the match of Pollard when it comes to kicking at posts and stuff. So it's really going to come down to how the two scrums match up. Obviously, the Bulls without Dean Trailing this weekend as well, even though he struggled last weekend. He's out with an injury. So I want to say that the Lions have got a chance. Obviously, the Bulls at home should be favourites. But as you said, the gap between the Bulls and the Lions is so small in the log that they've got a lot to play for as well. And especially if we were correct in saying that the Stormers are going to bank the victory against the Cheetahs, both those teams will need to win to keep pace with the Stormers. So I think I'm going to go for the upset here. I'm going to be brave and say that the Lions are going to squeak a victory, but by no more than 1 or 2 points.
Okay, great. Thanks, gents.
Thanks,
Nick.